Hello, everyone. I'm gonna film a quick video just for the hell of it to show some comics I got at an antique shop. And there's some interesting things in here. So, starting off, we've got World's Finest, issue 302. And this is a great cover. It's Batman giving Superman a sock to the jaw. You look on the back, it's some He-Man ad. So, at first, when I first saw this, I thought this was like 1970s. It's actually 1980s because of He-Man, and it has ads for like Atari. So 1984 is the publication date, and this is just a great cover. And I think it's the interesting thing about this cover is that I think that this is what Frank Miller took as inspiration for The Dark Knight Strikes Again, which of course is a notoriously very shitty, comic that like the sequel to The Dark Knight Returns, which is a very great comic. And yeah, you see here he's using kryptonite gloves to fight Superman, which is what he also does in The Dark Knight Strikes Again. And this is like a Neal Adams cover, which is instantly recognizable. But you flip it out, and I think this is a reprint of an older story, because that's a very old, like, looking Batman. Yeah, I think it is. Dick Giordano is the inker, Neal Adams is the penciler, and I don't think Dick Giordano wasn't working in Batman at the time, or DC. Cary Bates. The Superman Batman split, so it's another one of those classic stories where Batman and Superman switch bodies, which has been done a lot, especially in more modern comics too. And look at that. It's cool seeing Neal Adams draw Superman, because I don't think he's done it that often. But yeah, that alien looking motherfucker. And here's He-Man again. And I haven't read the story yet, but I guess an alien comes over and swaps bodies with Batman and Superman. And I guess you could see like there's Supergirl somewhere. Yeah, over there. And I think that's the Joker. Or no, it's not the Joker. It's some alien. And it's another one-off villain that doesn't appear again. There's some Robin, probably either Tim Drake. Not Tim Drake. It was probably Jason Todd. But the way he draws Batman is weirdly retro, like a very retro-looking Batman, like 1960s Dick Sprang-looking Batman, and not a, there's the letterer page, and there's another story. But yeah, this is like a more modern for the time Batman, which uses the pencils here. Oh, David Mazzucchelli. So this is a David Mazzucchelli piece comic. That's some great stuff, obviously, with David Mazzucchelli, and obviously famous for Year One, among other things, and Daredevil, Born Again, among other things, and there's Star Trek. So interesting, but does not deliver on the premise of Batman fighting Superman with kryptonite rocks. But anyway, that was still pretty cool. This one I bought strictly for the cover. Jonah Hex 84, and it's got a nice, like skeletons on the cover, like nice two-tone, like black and white skeletons with some little bit of color of the main cast. And I've always been interested in Jonah Hex because he just is a very interesting character ever since I saw Familiar Faces, the YouTuber Familiar Faces' channel. And it's got the same exact ad for Joust, so these must have been published around the same year, the same month or something. And there's not much to say, it's just classic Jonah Hex story. But back in these comics almost never deliver on the cover. Back then the cover was the clickbait, and it's like they almost never had anything to do with the story. And see if there's any skeletons that pop up in this issue. Otherwise it's kind of okay. So there is kind of some relevant. The skeletons are some relevant to the story in some way. And I love these old ads, like you get stuff like an Atlas body in 7 days, March of Dimes or whatever. Get X-ray glasses, obviously. All the novelty gifts. And is that the Warlord? It's a toy from I guess the 80s. And these Bronze Age comics always had such unique art. Very moody art in the Bronze Age. And I always kind of liked that. Anyway. Oh, nice. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons video game. Let's see, who did the pencils for this? Writer, editor, Michael L. Fester, artist Tony DeZula, and letterer Shelley Letterman, colorist Bobler. Okay, so pretty cool. And this one is also pretty interesting. I got it for Scarecrow, because Scarecrow's my favorite Batman villain. And this cover's pretty interesting. It's got like alligators. Batman hanging on for his dear life. Fear is the key. Of course, it's Scarecrow. Of course, we got the DC superpowers line of stories. But this is actually... Okay, this is probably well into the Bronze Age. I think it's Jason Todd. This is written by Doug Munch. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Much legendary author, creator of Moon Knight. Everyone knows that. Wrote some of the best Batman stories, and this is done by Gene Colan and Bob Smith. So another legendary artist from the Bronze Age. And we got Ben Appa lettering and Trinoy on colors, and Len Wein is the editor, which he was at this time. And rest in peace, Len Wein. But yeah, this is probably just another generic Scarecrow story. For a character as popular as Scarecrow, there's very few like great stories with Scarecrow in them. Well, I haven't read enough back issues, really. I should. Let's get more of those characters based trade paperbacks to, but the artwork is great. Very, like I said, very moody for the time. And that's the Green Arrow's here. Appearance by Green Arrow, like the backup story. And yeah, I think it would fall over. Sports Now trading cards. Like I've said, sports are just, nerd. It's just a nerdy hobby, just for jocks instead of actual nerds. And here is the Saga of the Swamp Thing issue 26, and this is, got this because it's an Alan Moore, and Alan Moore, of course, legendary writer, and this is his legendary run on Swamp Thing. And let's see, who is the artist on here? See, I guess we'll just flip the page to find out. See, like, these are all have the same ad, so I think it's around the same time. All within the published in the same year. Yeah, Alan Moore, writer. Stephen Bassetti and John Thilsby as artists. Karen Bengler as editor. Tajian Wood as colorist, and John Constanza as letterer. Oh, that's funny. Then the guy from the Seinfeld lettered this book. Obviously, he's not a real character. He's a fictional character, but there was a real life John Constanza apparently, and he was the editor, a letterer. He lettered comics back in the day, apparently. And this is just great art. Very, like, Touchstone, like the start of Vertigo. And this is, like, obviously aimed at a more mature readership. This is around the time, right before Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns, where comics were starting to venture into more adult stuff. Here's some coupons in Batman and the Outsiders and Infinity. You get a lot of Batman and the Outsiders and Infinity Inc. at this antique store, and I just love the way that Swamp Thing is drawn here. He actually looks like a plant monster, and yeah. Oh, there's Estrogen the Demon. One of my favorite characters, very unique character. Glad to see he shows up here. And there's the letters page. Keeps falling. And stuff. Yeah. Moon Patrol. Guess it's got a space program type of thing. And the same back end ad. Anyway, I hope you like this video, and I hope you subscribe for more. And I might do more videos about some of the comics in my collection, but I feel like the next big project is probably finally going to be finishing that Steve Ditko video I've been wanting to make. But first I need to, like, reread that Spider-Man run and finish the stuff that I missed, and do a little more research into Steve Ditko, and, like, probably read that article that was written about him a couple, of years ago about his life, about his private life, and how he wasn't really much of a hermit as much as he just wanted to keep his life separate from his work. Anyway, I guess you could just, I don't know, I'm not going to tell you to subscribe. It's probably going to get, like, no videos anyway, but see ya.